If you want to rewind and listen to it, it's super cringy. I can't do it again.
Time's up. Let's do this.
We're in for a wild
Welcome everyone to episode 211 of Born to be Wild, a wild and wild adjacent Hearthstone podcast where we have fun hanging out with friends, talking about the wild and wild adjacent formats of Hearthstone and spotlighting members of the wild community. I am your host, ElectricSheepCity. It's great to be back on this beautiful Friday evening here in Kickin' Rad, Colorado. I'm joined by fellow hosts Hydralisk.
Hi, myself.
And Schmoopydady.
Happy to be back, pedaling on my foot pedals and contributing to the pod.
For those of you joining us for the first time, welcome aboard. We record this podcast live every Friday evening at twitch.tv/borntobewildhs, and the video version of this podcast is then posted to YouTube shortly thereafter. Audio versions are also distributed to all podcast apps. However you are watching, listening, or absorbing via osmosis this podcast today, thank you. Yes, you.
Content plug, Schmoopydady. Before we get into the main topic of the show tonight, I'd like to say a quick thank you to the patrons of our show. Your support means the world to us. If you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, and comment on this video on YouTube. Another simple way to support the show is to leave a review on your podcast platform of choice. If you're watching live on Twitch, we've got some awesome emotes that you can unlock by subscribing to the channel. This is free if you are using Amazon Prime. Finally, if you'd like to support the show financially, you can join our Patreon for as little as $1 per month. We have some channels in the Discord that are unlocked by subscribing to the Patreon, where you can see the show coming together each week. Check it out. If you'd like to interact with us personally, please join our Discord, a free and amazing online community of friends from all across the world who love talking about Wild Hearthstone. Links to all of this stuff and more, including our merch, can be found on our website, which is www.borntobewildhs.com.
Good luck, everyone, and everything you do, because you're all absolute bloody legends. And I love you all.
We had a new wild legend this week. Schmoopydady, take it away and tell us the story of Sabotage Fire.
All right, well, before we go anywhere, can you just give a little background on who Sabotage Fire is and how you know them? Because you told me a little bit off stream, but I've seen their recent journey a little bit more than you have. But you're just like, oh, I know that guy.
Yeah, so back in the day, I was really involved in Slissa's community. This is when she was playing Constructed, initially back years and years ago. Before Born to be Wild was a thing. Into the Wild was probably a thing, but I don't have a good time frame for that. Anyway, so Sabotage Fire was super involved there. And then whenever F2K Comnet was a thing, I became an ambassador for that platform, and Sabotage Fire was also involved there. So multiple kind of points of entry, kind of touchstones for our lovely friend Sab. But I did not know that they still played Hearthstone, that they were actively playing Wild Hearthstone, that they were close to Legend for the first time. So I'm very excited to hear the recent journey into Legend of our friend Sab.
Sure. So some background that he was sharing on sort of Marshycord was Sab is a homebrew only player, doesn't net deck, makes his own stuff. And so he was sharing his OG Cthulhu Druid list, which if we got a picture of it, is a piece of work. It's your OG Aviana Kun, drop Cthulhu with Bran down, but also you got some buffers that you can pair with Bran. And my favorite spicy inclusion that he's got here is a Barista Lycan, or Leichen, whatever, however you say her words. There's a barista in here, and like that's sick because so many of those cards are battle cries, and you're bouncing all of them back to hand. And listen, we got Wild Heart Guff. You can do a lot of really dumb stuff with Druid and infinite mana.
That is so cool to hit first time legend in 2024 with OG Cthulhu.
It's really cool. I'm kind of jealous.
It's so rad. It is so rad.
And like he sold out for it too. Like he around October, he says October 2023. He was playing pretty casually through college. Fell in love with Wild when Whispers of the Old Gods moved to Wild, and so once that happened, his pet card went there, and so he went there. Things started breaking his way. You started seeing Aviana unnerfed. You started seeing buffs to the Cthulhu cards that were well taken. Towards the end, he was sharing in Marshy Cord. There's no actual like mulligan data for there's no mulligan data for Wild decks. So like he was tracking his own mulligans like manually. Like, okay, do I win? Do I lose when I keep this card in the mulligan? And so he has like card win rates for the cards that he like he just went all out like, all right, no, I'm gonna do my homework. And so it's really cool to see him not only hit legend with like kind of a spicy deck, because he shared this in Marshy Court and immediately people are giving him advice. Like I obviously first things out of my mouth that I saw was like, well, like why don't you have A&R the Titan in here? He's like, well, I'd love to run A&R, but a big problem with OG Cthulhu is board space. And I found that losing that board space to that 5/5 just wasn't worth it. Another thing I suggested was just like, well, why don't you run Astalor? It's like, I could run Astalor, and obviously that makes the deck better. It gives it a secondary win condition, but like kind of the soul of this deck is to win with OG Cthulhu. And so, like, listen, if you're going to sell out for the meme and you're going to do it the best you can, I respect not running Astalor in a deck like this just to make sure that you're selling out for the meme. I would probably run Astalor, but I think it's really cool that, like, you know, he went with a concept and he's just like, no, this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to do it, and I'm going to hit legend with it. And then he went out and did a whole lot of homework and actually did it, and that's really cool.
Oh, that must have felt good. That must have felt so good.
And not only with a homebrew, but like a throwback homebrew, and one that they've been playing. I knew that Sab had been playing Cthulhu like in Wild back whenever I knew them years ago. I did not know that trajectory still continues. So that makes me really happy that he hit it with OG Cthulhu in Wild like this month. That just fills my heart with joy, honestly.
So yeah, I mean, GG's Sab, and congrats on your first time legend.
Absolutely.
Well, Sheep, let's check in. You know, how was your week?
Yeah, my week was pretty good. Truthfully, I got some new glasses. They look like the ones that I had before. You know, my glasses broke. I was wearing like the chonkers.
Does your head feel better?
It does, so much better. I have not had the headaches. Whenever I was wearing my contacts, like I didn't have the headaches either then, but those were my last pair of contacts, and those are good for like 2 weeks. So like there was a ticking clock on getting my new glasses. So feels a lot better. I was looking at pictures to kind of see about when was the last time that I got new glasses, and I think it was like either 2018 or 2019. And so, you know, my prescription changed a little bit since then as well, but also like it's been 5 years. That's way more than I thought it was. But yeah, it was before the pandemic that I even like had new glasses at all. So those lasted quite a while for being daily drivers through multiple states, multiple moves, playing like with my son who likes to you know, not roughhouse, but like, you know, I'm like, you know, tickling him, and he's like grabbing the glasses and all that stuff too. So
you
That's
just, like,
impressive. honestly.
You just like falling asleep with young kids, just like falling asleep and like rolling onto your glasses. That's how I broke one of my pairs. Was just like sleep deprivation, and like I was all dressed and ready for work, and I took him off and I put him beside me, and without thinking about it, I just rolled over onto that spot, and that was it. They were done. So like,
Oh, no.
it happens with little kids, right? Like you're right. Like it's like not even the playing. Like sometimes it's just like you are more tired and you are stupider and you do stupid things like break your glasses.
So that may have been something that kind of contributed to the wear and tear. But what ended up happening is my son like grabbed him and was kind of like going like this, but a little bit lower. So instead of, the hinge moving, it was below the hinge.
Yeah,
and then
that's gone.
That's what got it. So,
Yeah.
he's, all of 19 months now. Like, he doesn't know any better. He thinks that, he's just playing around. Like, I'm not mad at him, but also like I needed new glasses.
Yeah.
We also had a new expansion in Hearthstone. So I've played mostly standard this week, which is pretty standard for me when we get a new expansion, because a new expansion either breaks Wild, and standard is what I go to, or has a way bigger impact in standard than it does in Wild. And this one seems to be more of the latter. And not to say that there's no impact in Wild, because there absolutely is. And we'll get to that. But the standard has completely changed. Like I was playing Corb's Elemental Shaman. I played Elemental Mage, Elemental Rogue. Rogue is mostly like, it plays elementals so that it can chain them to do like a Lamplighter OTK. The other ones are like elemental decks that have Lamplighter in them. Lamplighter being the kind of common through line here. So, been playing a lot of standard, be it elementals, be it patches, Demon Hunter, Pirate Demon Hunter, be it Big Spell Mage. I was playing a decent amount of that as well. Standard kind of seems like it's changing on the daily right now, which is pretty fun in a new expansion. So been pretty happy with that. In other news, my key has started sticking in my ignition of my car. So I've got an appointment to drop it off on Monday. From what I've Googled, it should be like a relatively quick fix. Like the people who were talking about it on the like Reddit thread that I found about this. It's a pretty standard
Reddit's good
thing
for that. Honestly,
it really is. It really,
it's really good
is.
for quick stuff like this.
So I've got like a 2017 Subaru Forester, and this is like apparently like a known thing. And this person was like, well, it was like a $300 fix, and I didn't want to do that. So now I just like slam the changer into park, and that kind of does it. So that's how I was able to get my key out of it. And I hope that it's like a $300 like hour fix like this person's was, because that is the thing that fixed it for me. But also it's like getting it exactly right and slamming it, and it takes about like 10 minutes to get out of my car right now. And let's just fix it. Like if it's $300 fix, I don't want to use $300 for that, but also like a pretty substantial car repair for $300 is like, not too bad comparatively. So, I get to find out a little bit more about that on Monday. TBD. Stay tuned for next time on Born to be Wild, and you'll find out what's going on with Sheep's car. That's kind of been my week. Hydra, how's your week gone, my friend? Oh, wait. One thing I wanted to say, and I didn't write this down. Monday was the very last squelch that is centered around Hearthstone. So this was at the very least my last squelch for a little while. And it's kind of the end of an era. Like Dano's been doing squelch for hundreds of episodes as well. And so that was a really big kind of chapter to close, not just for Dano, not just for Squelch, but kind of for the broader Hearthstone community. So definitely wanted to highlight that because I was lucky enough to be a co-host in Squelch for a few months, a year, what is time, for a little while now, and saying farewell to the Hearthstone portion of Squelch. It's morphing to be more general gaming, which makes sense for Dano and makes sense for Squelch as a whole. But it is still the end of an era, and a thing that I'm very glad to have been a part of and to be a part of again whenever I have a little bit more time, because I've got like another year on my grad program, and there's no way I'm going to be able to fit in games that aren't just like on my phone in the interim. So that's another big thing that I just kind of want to recognize and am glad that I had been a part of. So 07 salutes to Squelch in the Hearthstone space as well. Definitely. And now, Hydra, how was your week?
Well, I do also want to say thank you to Squelch. Squelch has been, one of those podcasts in the community that's been around for quite some time, and always appreciate that content there, and can still keep listening to it. It's just not going to be the same that it was before. So yeah. Still, respect to Squelch. Thank you for everything that you've done, and looking forward to seeing, where it goes, right? And that's super cool. We had the perfect transition, and then we didn't. But anyways, back to car talk. So I had mentioned a while ago I was doing some training or working from home at one point, and we had the thing where someone decided to, crash into my truck while I was sitting in this very chair. That was 2 months ago, and it took a while for insurance to set up the repair, and it went into repair, and then it was gone for 2 weeks for the repair. Anyways, finally got it back, which is sweet. It was so funny because my boss was saying, oh, it's never the same after a fix. It's never the same. And because he's all depressed about what happened to his car one time because paint doesn't match properly and stuff. And so then suddenly I'm like, well, thanks, dude. Like, now it's in my head that I'm going to see the difference when I get the truck. I can't see like anything at all, which is so funny. And even he goes out and he goes and checks himself. He's like, oh, I'm going to go see if I can find anything. And he comes back and he's like, dang it. Like, not that I would wish that upon you, but I cannot tell the difference between any of the panels on your vehicle. Like, they repainted and matched the paint perfectly. Like, it looks absolutely amazing. So thank goodness. I bought the vehicle brand new in 2022, right? And then somebody smacks it 2 years later. First scratch is always the hardest, right? And like went flawless.
Scratch is the hardest.
Sorry.
Right, and there's not a lot of mileage on it. Like, I think I just broke 20,000 kilometers. So for you guys, that's like
20 miles?
12,000 miles or something.
Yeah, that sounds
how long?
Actually accurate. not a lot of miles.
Yeah, so like nothing, basically.
Yeah.
On the vehicle. And so I was like, why'd you have to hit the shiny thing? Anyways, so it's fixed. It's all good. I'm happy about that. It took like 2 months to fix it, and it wasn't even that bad. It's not like there was crazy work other than body work to do it. Like they wrecked the door and like the front side quarter panel on the passenger side or driver's side. And like that was it. Like, so I don't get why it took that long, but anyway, they claimed it was too hot to paint because it was so hot outside for so long that the paint dries too quickly, so they can only paint early in the morning hours. So sure, we'll go with that. Maybe there's a painter of vehicles out there that can,
I don't know enough to call BS on that, so I'm gonna assume yes.
But
also,
we'll
just say okay.
Probably something to that. But
And then
also,
it's so funny, like, right? So I had to pay. Speaking of $300, a $300 deductible because I couldn't prove who it was. But the actual bill was $4,200.
Wow. Even in Canadian, that's a lot.
Like for somebody's mirror scraping down the side of my vehicle, it was $4,200. Like that body shop, like they cleaned up. Like they got some bank on that one. It seems like it was a bit much, right? they just whatever. I think they know because they're getting it from the insurance company, they can charge top dollar for everything. Anyways, new expansion obviously is out, as Sheep was saying, and sometimes, like, I always get both bundles, and then I'll have anywhere between like 6,000 and 10,000 gold, depending on how much I have saved from the last expansion. So I spent 6,500 gold, so about like 65 packs, and then opened both bundles. And I actually only have 5 legendaries left to go, and
Nice.
I've got everything else. And I'll get I'll actually be down to 4 I need, because when I hit level 50, I'll just grab that one, right? And I'm at like level 30 or something like that, so shouldn't take too much longer to get up there. And so I'll just wait till I get there. If I crack something from a pack, then even better. But I stopped at my pity timer anyway,
Nice.
so I know exactly where I'm at. And so if I have to craft 4 legendaries to complete the set with the amount of dust I have, that's not really a big deal, because I'm a whale and there's lots of dust. So
Yeah, it's not bad,
it'll
honestly.
be okay.
especially
It'll
if you
be okay.
especially if you like, you take a couple of your Tavern Brawl packs and you crack them once in a while. Like, you'll get there by the end of the expansion easy. If you play, if you play Arena regularly, you'll get there easily.
Oh, yeah.
The standard packs,
Yeah.
because I opened a bunch of standard packs, like, I don't know, like 20 or something, and I didn't get a legendary. So I'm probably getting somewhat close.
You probably
on a
do,
standard
yeah.
pack.
I haven't even dipped into my reserves yet, like standard packs, class packs. So
Yeah. So if I open more of those, I'll probably hit it soon. I don't know, whatever. I don't like investing too much in packs when, like, at a certain point when I could just like craft what's left. Because why open, like, if you're hitting your pity timer every time, right? 4 legendaries when I open 160 packs at the worst to get the 4 legendaries.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds like a really bad idea.
Yeah.
when I could just use the dust, right? So anyways, pack opening went pretty well. I just did the thing where you open it real fast. Like, I don't have the time now.
Isn't
Like,
it so nice though? It's so the highlights are cool. The highlights,
Yeah.
I actually get a little
The bulk pack
buzz from
opening.
the highlights.
yeah,
Mini
it's like, oh,
Hydra
that
took
pack was sick. I didn't have to open tons of them to see it either. Yeah.
So wait, is the highlights though? It's not just does it show your best?
No, it's not
pack?
a
Is that
single
what it
pack.
is? Is it a single pack or is it not?
It's supposed to be a single pack, quote unquote single pack. I don't
If
know
it-
if it actually is, but it's supposed to be.
If it
Because
is,
it'll
there's one
show
where I
you,
got like
show you like this single
really good
pack and then that single pack and then
I
it'll
thought it
show
was
like
just
2 or
showing you
3.
all the good stuff you got in those packs.
That's what I
not
thought,
an
too.
actual high roll pack.
I could be wrong, but I think it's like a high roll pack, and then at the very end of everything, it's like, here's like a list of everything you got.
I don't
And that's
remember
like the
Sheep,
list.
so you could absolutely be right, and I would be none the wiser either way.
So
And I don't
here's
know
the
if they
thing:
told
if
us.
it,
I'm going to believe
Assume that? Do
that's
that.
a high roll pack, and
Do that.
I feel great.
Heck yeah!
if it was
Yeah.
a high roll pack, I had one that had a golden legendary, a legendary, like a golden epic, and 2 other epics. So that would be kind of insane.
We
if
take
it is
those.
a high roll.
Believe it. Believe it.
Believe it.
Right. So anyways, and like Sheep was saying, I know it's Born to be Wild, but when new expansion comes out, the best way to play with the new cards is to hit up standard if you really want to experience and see them. So I've been doing the same thing, and obviously I've been playing Demon Hunter. It's a
Yeah.
good time to be playing Demon Hunter for me because I need Demon Hunter wins. So we take those, we play it while we can when it's something that I would like. It doesn't have an insane win rate on HS Replay. It only has overall, or like it in Diamond, like 1 to 4, that section, it's got like a 62% win rate or something.
Dude, 62 is insane.
So we've seen crazy though. We've seen real crazy.
We play Wild.
So,
yeah, we have.
I'm hoping that they don't. They probably will touch something. Like, I can't see them not touching something, because when I play that deck in Standard, I feel like I'm playing Wild.
Right?
Right, like what is it, Hosen Roughhouser or whatever, where every time you play or Pirate attacks, it gets +1/+1. Like, that's just insane with all the like the charges you get. Like, it's just.
There's that one, and then the one where whenever you attack with a pirate, your hero gets attack. And so if you're playing the sock puppet, like those
Adrenaline Fiend and Sock Puppet is a drug.
I actually
screwed
that up.
It's actually insane.
I love it. I love it.
I screwed that one up and felt bad about it because I attacked too early when I only had like 5 attack or something. And then at the end of the turn, I had like 12 attack. And I was like,
darn!
You idiot! I still won, and the person was probably laughing at me like, "What a loser!" Like, they did not like order lull.
Who cares what other people think?
It was so funny. I was like, "Okay, I don't have that many reps. Give me a break. I'm learning how to play the deck."
The expansion just came out.
Yeah.
The card just came out. Like, I feel like right now, if you aren't giving people grace, then like,
yeah,
I played
was
some
fun.
that's
though.
on you.
I played something today playing Wild, playing a deck where I was looking at them. I was just like, I don't think you've ever played this deck before. Like, it just happens. Like, somebody, you just pick it up, you craft it, and like, oh, it was like Miracle. They were playing like Pack Rogue. They were playing Pack Rogue, and I could tell because MMR-wise, they were able to queue into me at low legend, but they were still at silver. So they probably just crafted Pack Rogue, and they're like, okay, I'm going to climb with Pack Rogue. And they had no idea how to play like the Ping Mage matchup, which is miserable on their end, but they were making it worse by drawing cards. So it's just like, all right, well, this is somebody who just doesn't know how to play. Like, it just happens. Like, I wasn't judging them for it. It was just like, all right, they just don't know.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm having a lot of fun with that. I'm going to keep jamming that. I'm going to play a bunch of other decks and, just keep rocking it. And then like to see what we can really insert into Wild. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And it's been for like Blizzard mobile games, for me, it's been an insane week because Warcraft Rumble also put out an expansion with a whole new class. They've got their own festival going on. It's the Cenarian Festival. So it's like the Druid class. They got 2 new heroes and minions. So there's a whole new rewards track, which is the biggest one we've actually seen in my recollection in the game. So I'm just going back and forth, and there's like so many things to do. New rewards track in Hearthstone, new rewards track in Rumble, and I'm just like back and forth constantly, like playing both, and I'm having so much fun and just unlocking all the stuff, getting all the shinies. It's a good time for me because I got both, and I'm just gonna keep rocking them. It's been a pretty good week, in all honesty. Thank you, Blizzard. I'm having fun. Schmoopydady, how's your week?
Sure. So this week I registered that I have lost 10 pounds since the start of my summer, which is cool.
Yo.
I've been hitting the treadmill pretty hard. I don't run anymore because I'm too heavy to do. I'm like picking up runner's injuries running. I've said this before in the pod, and so like I'm done with running. High incline walking, I'm just gonna do that. Play Hearthstone while I high incline walk. So like I'll go for an hour. I played Ping Mage today for an hour, and it was very funny because. Every game was exactly like 10 minutes. Every game was exactly like 10 minutes long. So I was just like, oh, good. I just got to get 2 more games in at the end of my hour at like 40 minutes. At like 40 minutes, I'm 2 and 2. I'm like, all right, I just got to get a couple more in. We're good to go. And so that's been good. Again, changed the diet lifestyle to something that I think is manageable, aside on the times I feel like having a beer. which is fine. It's a weekend thing, but that can keep that manageable. So that's cool. So yeah, that's like a fun little like yay personal moment. Another funny personal moment. Schmoopy has made a friend at camp. So he's going to like a martial arts like Taekwondo camp. We're weaponizing him early. And he has made a friend with one of the TIs at his camp. He still can't remember her name, but she sent him a... TI is like it's like technical instructor. It's like so like a lot of martial arts dojos, what they do is they get kids in the program, and the ones that excel, they start sort of pushing them towards helping out in class and teaching. And so like a lot of times the TIs or the kids will like run the warm-ups. Now it's just like an outsider. I've never done like organized martial arts. But as an educator, like kids teaching other kids is like good. You want that. Like yeah. I want that happening in my classroom where like as long as they're teaching the correct thing, like if they know what they're talking about, like you want that happening because that usually settles in and is much more effective than when like I'm like in the front of the classroom. So like he the TI is 7 years old, he's 6 years old, and she sent him like a little thing that looks like a sun that said, Schmoopy, you are my sunshine, obviously with my son's name instead of, and it was in very beautiful script on either side. And I'm like, yo, Schmoopy, do you like her? You think she's pretty? He's like, yeah. And so he went home and he then like made his own little thing to send back, which was 3 hearts with some nice smiley faces glued together. And that said, to, and then he didn't remember her name, and so I said, okay, well, you're gonna have so it's like, all right, so like here's how we do this, Schmoopy. You got to be like, listen, I'm sorry, I remember personalities and faces better than I remember names. And Schmoopy mommy's like, shut up. Ask her how to spell her name.
Ooh,
and then
Schmoopy mommy knows what's up.
And then you'll get to write it out, and then she'll probably say it, and then you'll be able to remember it. He's like, yeah. And so like he made something really sweet for her, which is really cool because like that was his like Kindle time. So like usually he like goes straight home and he's just like, great, it's my Kindle time. It's 3:00. I can play Kindle. And so like he was taking time out of his Kindle time to riz up his TI, which was impressive. I thought I was okay at it. I think he's going to be a problem. We're going to have to like, I don't know what we're going to have to do. Maybe, who knows? Maybe some sort of a 24-hour watch program until he's like, old enough to take care of a kid or something. I don't know.
Schmoopydady is going to have to change his like Twitch name to Casanova Daddy.
or like, no, I'm gonna have to change my Twitch handle to Schmoopy Grandpa. All right. Anyway, so this is my kind of expansion. We'll talk about it a little bit more. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we start talking about like the broader discussion topic. And there's a couple we have tonight. We have the big statement from Blizzard, but also just like what's happening in the wild meta. And, there's a lot of new weird stuff that we can kind of play at the fringes that's like got a strong enough power level that it can kind of hang with the old stuff without being like the obnoxious new thing. And that's kind of cool for somebody who plays like a variety of decks. And especially I play a variety of viewer decks on a nightly basis throughout the week. I'm seeing a lot of variety, and I'm not feeling like I have to queue up a bunch of unwinnables, except for when Tom Carter gives me an adaptive amalgam OTK deck, because I don't know what happened to Tom. I don't know what fried his brain, where adaptive amalgam combos where you get to the end of your deck and then you have to have a rod up so that like he's not gone full Mark where he's doing like Emperor Thorison 2 ticks, right? Like where he needs to like take that much mana off the combo for the combo to work, but it's just like get to the end of your deck, play 2 ships cannons, play Umbra, play adaptive amalgam, make sure the adaptive amalgam copies the what was the lackey that got nerfed a million years ago because of Q block? Possessed lackey. Give it the possessed lackey wacky death rattle with a Necrium vial, and then summon it infinitely for 2 cannon pings for like infinite
We'll
cycles.
We'll get there, but Infinite has changed, by the way.
Infinite has changed, and maybe Tom can finally like give it a rest and like get a new hobby or something, because this is getting old really quick. The adaptive amalgam loops, it's like, bro, what is it that triggered you? Is it the hippo art? I don't get it, but I keep having to play
hippo
them.
art's great, though.
The hippo art's awesome. I don't have it yet, but it's awesome. So like I'm having a lot of fun this expansion. I think Wild's kind of fun. I am rank like 3,000 right now, so I'm right in the mix of a lot of people experimenting, not a ton of people tryharding. The people who are tryharding are kind of tryharding with simple stuff. Seedlock, Aggro Priest, Pirate Rogue. So like, you know what they're going to do, and there's not a lot of tricky stuff they can kind of do to take it away from you. So if you're playing the right deck, you know right away if you've won or lost, and you can either concede or you can play it out, or you could farm them, like whatever. That part's cool. And last but not least, because I said I'd include it in the show notes, I was missing 1,600 dust to complete a viewer deck for one Gimme Lamp. And she did a good job on the cook. I call it like Warlock Rogue, because it's new. It's taking advantage of the new card Announce Darkness, and it turns basically all of your non Warlock cards into Warlock cards, which is cool because it's a Spectral Cutlass deck. So like you buff your Spectral Cutlass, and then you rip Announce Darkness, and now all of your rogue cards, there you go, and then all your rogue cards are now Warlock cards, and your hero power is now an even lock hero power, because it reduces your hero power by 1 too. So every time you play a Warlock card, you're buffing your Spectral Cutlass, and it's really cool. And I'm 3-0 with it somehow with this pile. I mean, I haven't played real decks with it. Well, I did play one real deck with it, but like, it's kind of cool.
If you played 3 games and you played one real deck, like that's a pretty good.
It's not bad. It's not bad. Like, would I take it to Legend? No. Would I tell people to craft it? No. This is where, like, in the description of the YouTube video, it says
don't bait people.
Clearly marked bait. No, I do this. I write clearly marked bait because I don't want to bait people, because I need people to trust me, right? And so but this is fun and cool. And in order to craft, like, I think Vona, who's like a party planner, who's one of the top end, I'd been crafting cards before. I'm like Hydra. I'm like probably by the end of my pack opening, I was maybe like 7 legendaries away from a full set. And so I keep kind of running into like, oh, you don't have this tourist. Oh, you don't have this tourist. And unfortunately, it's like tourists that I have left. So I was like, man, I don't really feel like fishing around for dust to craft Vona, because I haven't. I've already done that before, and I've gone through, and I've like, well, I think this card might get nerfed because standard nerfs good cards. Well, I think this card might get nerfed because standard nerf good cards. Well, I don't want to dip into this stonk either. And so what I did was I just casually went on over to Signature Patches, and I said, it's been real, buddy. Or I didn't say anything at all, but like, I deleted the dumb meatball, because my single biggest regret in Hearthstone is opening Signature Patches. I got one signature card from the Caverns of Time packs, and it was Signature Patches when I already have Diamond Patches. Diamond Patches is infinitely better than the signature one. I never want to use the signature one. And so I deleted it and made Vona Party Planner, and as Hydralisk makes note, my chat lost their freaking minds. They're like, no. You would think that I had taken one of their toes or fingers in some sort of like torturous way, right? Like they're like, no, right? But bye, Patches. It's been real.
Goodbye.
Rest in piddle. You won't be missed.
Goodbye. Schmoopydady
My favorite
Signature
is
Patches.
I love how it was just the most casual move ever. It's like, click on them, disenchant, craft, and everyone's like, what are you doing?
Why? And then my evil cackle apparently scared your cat, which is also.
Oh yeah. Oh, that
funny.
was so. Yeah, because you're like, I don't even think I could emulate it. Yeah. So I'm in my bed watching
I was
on my
reliving the
phone.
moment. I felt the joy.
I'm watching on my phone, right? And Rory is laying next to me, and when Schmoopydady does his evil laugh, Rory's ears perks up and she stares directly into the phone, and then the ears go back, and then she squints. Like,
Is this a threat? Is this man a threat?
oh, it was so classic. And even my wife was like, was that Schmoopydady? Because you were talking, obviously, before. I'm like, yes. She's like, what's wrong with him? Like, he's very
lot.
happy.
Oh, honestly, a lot. To be fair, a lot. But, anyway, that was definitely a HS highlight of my week. I finally have found an excuse to delete signature patches. There's a number of times on stream I've actually hit the disenchant button like several times and then recrafted disenchant erasing guy, right, and not tabbed out. And this time it felt so good to tab out.
This week's been busy for me for school, so like I haven't been able to like tune into many Schmoopydady streams. I've seen Schmoopy disenchant and cancel signature patches multiple times. I miss the real one. And you know, that's probably for the best.
It's probably for the best. I'd probably get banned from my own stream. I don't know how that would happen. It would happen though. But that was my week. We had some news. Let's talk some news.
Welcome to the news. The news is so good.
The news is kind of a mixed bag.
Welcome to the news. The news is actually pretty bad.
The news is actually a mixed bag. So, first, for the good part of the news, the new expansion, Perils in Paradise, dropped this week on Tuesday, the 23rd. Tuesday. Neat. It's a thing we've all been playing. We like that thing. We'll go into a little bit more of the implications of that thing in the discussion. But we wouldn't be doing our jobs if we didn't say that the expansion dropped. Let's be real. So shortly thereafter, today, on Friday, the 26th of July, patch 30.0.2 came around. And a few things happened in that there patch. Not a ton of them are super relevant for us, but I'll go down the list just for general awareness. So they fixed a bug where random generation would sometimes fail. As a result of this fix, Force Warden Omu, Halveria Darkraven, and Kel'Thas Sunstrider are once again available for play in the remainder of this twist season. So they'd kind of been like taken out of rotation because of some random generation issues. And now they're back. That's wild adjacent news. Check it. I still need to hit Legend and Twist this season. It's getting down to the wire.
I don't know if I will. I don't know if I can summon the will to do so. We'll see.
What should I even run to do that with? Like Kel'Thas, Halveria, like Omu, like
I don't know. No, not Omu. Omu is apparently terrible. Halveria is apparently like perfectly balanced and fine. I think Arthas is still okay. Marin is probably still okay. I queue up the mode and I get stuck playing it against Marin, and then the Marin I have to like log out of the game and log back in to see the end of the Marin turns, or just sit through animations for 10 minutes. I'm just not about it. I can't stand the mode right now. I can't do it.
I'm probably going to play that good doggo, that sweet pupper, Arthas. Also, in patch 30.0.2, they changed the behavior of Adaptive Amalgam and Immortal Prelate in rare circumstances that resulted in infinite loops. if either of those minions would loop more than 30 times in a row without player action, they're instead permanently destroyed after the 30th loop.
Yeah, Tom Soft locked himself out of client several times testing. So that good. We saved Tom.
Yep. They changed the animation for Horizon's Edge to be faster. That was the 4-drop location.
Yes.
It was super slow.
Yes.
It's faster. That happened today. Schmoopydady,
Right
myself, Hydra, probably you as well. You're welcome. Especially since you've been playing Demon Hunter in Standard.
Yeah.
Yeah. This will
like
affect you as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it.
They fixed a bug where Cliff Dive would not always return minions to the deck. Cool, fixed a bug. They fixed a bug where Package Dealer had slightly lower than 50% odds to draw an extra card. Unlucky.
Skill issue.
Apparently not, actually. They fixed a bug where Fairy Tail Slime would not summon anything to the secret zone. Cool, bug fix. They fixed a bug where Sharkbait would not refresh Murloc Holmes' hero power. That's a Battlegrounds thing. The next one is also a Battlegrounds thing. They fixed a bug where Partner in Crime's quest reward did not show a preview of the Golden Buddy. Cool. Very cool. We've also got a pretty intense, or not. Honestly, I'm kind of leaning towards not, but it's going to affect how I engage with the monetary part of the game, which is probably for the healthier. But Hydra, I'm going to kick it over your way to lead us through the Hearthstone update, Looking Ahead by Nathan Lyon-Smith, executive producer.
Yeah, sure. So this is in response, I guess, to a bit of the feedback that the team has been getting. You know, there's some things that we didn't get recently with like a new board, cinematic, and that sort of thing with this expansion. So we did get a promised answer, I guess, quote unquote, from the executive producer of Hearthstone. So that's Nathan Lyon-Smith. And so this is the statement, or the looking ahead update. Well met, Hearthstone community. Nathan Lyon-Smith here, following up on last week's promise to give you more visibility on our strategy for Hearthstone. As someone who's been playing Hearthstone since beta days, I am passionate about making sure this game we all love keeps thriving. And as the executive producer, it is also my job to look after this game's health, our incredible team, and our equally incredible community. We are doing meaningful research and development for the future of Hearthstone to ensure that the tavern will be a home for you and for another decade and beyond. While we are not ready to share any information about this work yet, and will not be for a while, I want you to know that we are committed to Hearthstone as we know it today, and that this work is happening alongside what I will detail below. We made some changes over the last 18 months that were not what you've come to expect from Hearthstone. We didn't do a good job in communicating our strategy around those changes. I apologize for that. Going forward, it is my goal to be more open. We should proactively share changes we are making with our community alongside context around why we are making these changes. I will start addressing that now. Stop. So I'm just going to stop there, and maybe we could just talk about that section before we move on. So as I read that earlier when it was posted, and Stazari had kind of like pointed out a couple things in the Born to Be Wild Discord about this that seemed kind of funny, I guess. Funny, not funny, if you want to say that. So in this intro, before he moves on to more details, it's talking about how they want to be more open. Sorry for not sharing. and we'll do better at that. But then goes on to say that we're not ready to share any information about our work and will not be for a while. Like almost in the same breath, which feels bad in my opinion, but I get it.
It feels bad, but also basically saying that they're working on stuff. I get that they can't say what those specific things are. Things may change between now and when they're ready to announce them. I kind of get that bit. That said, they've known that they're not going to release a board in particular, which I feel like is what this is responding to more than anything else, right? For a while now. And the fact that they didn't mention it before it was noticed by the Squelch in particular.
Maybe they won't notice. They won't notice. We'll see.
It just seems kind of like, I'm sure this comes from people at Nathan, executive producer, and above, Tyler, the game director. I'm sure that this comes from there or above them level for don't announce that. No, we don't want the blowback from that. But from a player perspective, dude, it'd feel a lot better to know that things aren't coming before they just don't appear. Right?
And what's kind of funny is I feel like Hearthstone in the last couple of years has not been pushing the insanely competitive agenda that they've had before, right? It's been more whimsical, more fun than it ever has been, right?
And that's most of the player base.
They've dialed down the esports stuff, right? It is nowhere near the way it was. People aren't grinding those points like they used to. It's not the same. It's funner, and they make the hilarious reveal videos and stuff like that. It's supposed to be super fun. And then the fun thing, two of the fun things, the cool cinematic and the board that I guess maybe they didn't realize people love as much as they do, were gone. Isn't that part of that cool, fun, whimsical thing they're going for? Right?
I love playing around with the board. I love it.
What else does it... Sorry, but that's what I do. When I got my turn figured out, my next turn, I'm playing with the board. Right?
Whether or not I have my next turn figured out, I'm playing with the board.
Do you not always aim the laser at the rocket every single time?
Unless I'm playing on mobile, yeah. Immediately.
Yeah, or launch the rocket every single... Oh, sorry, not the rocket, the volcano. The volcano has to go off, right?
I've never done the volcano because I'm on mobile. I wonder what percentage of Hearthstone players are on mobile, and a lot of these elements are going to are maybe going to waste because mobile players can't access them. I feel like a lot of the newer boards have that in mind, and the more detailed stuff is either in the top right corner or in the bottom left corner. But I wonder if this is a response to being guys, you're spending X number of hours and time and energy and money developing these things when X percentage of your player base doesn't even have access to it unless they play on a computer. And I've been saying this kind of to defend the dev team a little bit. They got acquired by Microsoft. We had a bunch of people let go. I haven't heard of any major hirings. Have you?
No.
I haven't heard of them hiring people back or bringing people back.
I haven't heard of them hiring anyone.
So
on the Hearthstone team since the acquisition. Yeah.
So I'm assuming that the team is doing the same amount of work that they are responsible for, the same amount of work they're always responsible for. It's probably at its smallest that it's had to be for a long time. And so this is just a result of that. It's just why are we spending times on boards or cinematics when we can do that developing more stuff in the game. So like to a certain extent, I think this first part is supposed to kind of like, I have mixed feelings about it because I feel like this is a good thing. Like if the team is overworked and we can take their energies and send them in more efficient places, I think that's fine. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But if you don't communicate that you're doing that effectively, then it becomes a bad thing. And I don't know if this first paragraph actually effectively communicates that, because they don't want to how do you outline in corporate speak the negative situation that the team is probably in, having the same amount of work that it usually has to do, but being the smallest it's ever been, and also say, okay, we're not going to be doing some stuff anymore because we got to give these guys a break, but we're going to make sure they're working on something that's awesome and cool that you'll like. Like, that's a very hard thing to communicate, and not also like satisfy suits high enough up that they're not like, well, are we going to take a hit from this? Like, no. You got to use safer language than this. So like, I feel like this is trying to split the baby a little bit in the first paragraph. And I read between the lines as a 35-year-old who's had a mother who's been in the corporate environment for most of her adult life. And so that's when I'm reading from this, and I'm taking a little bit of heart from this. But if I was, let's say, an 18-year-old who loves Hearthstone, but, watches a lot of content creators that make a lot of their views and a lot of their content on rage baity stuff, this is red meat. Like, this is like an easy target for somebody to be really pissed about, being like, oh, they're coming up with new ways to make money off of us. That's not necessarily the case and shouldn't necessarily be the place that we jump to. But like, I think to a certain extent, we have to keep that context in mind that like the team's really small right now, and I don't think it's going to get bigger anytime soon. So like, we can't, if we're going to have 3 expansions a year, which we're kind of used to. Oh, and by the way, reverts at the end of the year. That'd be nice. Like, we're going to need some help with that. And I will say this. Did they talk about Arena in here yet, or is that later on?
That's later.
Later on. Let's go. Let's keep going then. Let's keep going then. I said my piece. Anybody else? What else were you guys thinking about this?
Yeah. Additionally, if the team is staying where it is, and let's be real,
It will.
It will.
It will. Yep.
Having them focus and having them do things that we all enjoy, that makes sense. What I have a big issue with is the communication about it. Like, why did we only find out about the board after the backlash? Like, I don't want to be a clickbaity person or anything like that, but also like, dude, tell us before it becomes like readily apparent that we're not getting a new board, that, hey, there's not going to be a new board. The team's small, like, it's gotten smaller. Unfortunately, that's like a side effect of that like phenomenon. Like, okay, I can understand that. Tell me that before people are pissed off about there not being a new board, and I'm not going to be pissed off about there not being a new board. I'll be like, cool, the team is smaller. Let's focus on the new cards. Let's focus on the new interactions. Let's focus on the things that they have to focus on for this game that we all really love to continue to go on. But tell me that before people are pissed off about it.
And just to clarify, that's not on Hat either. That's not in Hat. That's not Hat's job to do that. So like, we talk about communicating, he's constantly talking to the community, but like, he's not the one that's going to be breaking new stuff. He's the one who's taking input from us. So make sure you're nice to Hat. He's the one who's taking input from us and then sending that back up the ladder and being like, hey, listen, this is what the community thinks about this. Hydro, what were you going to say?
Well, yeah, and if he's not authorized to say something, he's not going to say something, right?
Yeah, he's good at his job.
Why didn't you tell us? Because they fire me, duh.
We don't want Hat to be fired. We want Hat. He's great at his job.
You know, it was tinfoil hat, but probably true is like if they don't want to give you any sort of negative news when they're releasing an expansion, right? Oh, by the way, we're giving you a new expansion, but we're, you know, cutting some of the fat. You're not going to get some of the cool stuff you used to get before that you love and enjoy. Maybe less people are going to be inclined to pre-order an expansion that doesn't come with the stuff that they like. Like you hype up something, you're not going to say, but by the way, you don't get these things. So the business move, really, right? Like why I get why they don't say it, because it's going to affect sales.
But also,
anyway,
if you do that, the community notices that, especially our community, because they're grumpy, and they're like, well, what about the fact they didn't want sales to get impacted, right? And so, like, I don't know. It's like you're absolutely right that it's like smart business not to do that, but also we have an intelligent and grumpy community, so like they pick up on that crap.
Yeah.
But guess what? We're all slightly goldfish, and we'll forget by the time the next expansion comes around. All right?
You're absolutely correct, because we need something new and shiny to be angry about.
Yeah. All right. So the next section is called Fun, Focus, and Fearless. So this continues Nathan's statement here. So our strategy for Hearthstone is based around 3 words: fun, focus, and fearless. Hearthstone delivers a special kind of fun, the aha moments and the puzzly combat, alongside the game's unique look and feel. We strive every day to provide tools that inspire you to experience the game in your way, so that Hearthstone can offer you your own brand of fun. Constructed, Battlegrounds, and Arena are modes that our community plays the most, and where you see us making the largest updates, like you saw with Battlegrounds Duos earlier this year. Focusing on those modes allows us to make more meaningful improvements to areas that impact the vast majority of our community. Rip Duels. We want to be fearless in the pursuit of discovering more fun experiences and strive to move beyond the status quo to do so. We saw one such opportunity in Arena. Over the last 8 months, the Arena community has been energized by some small yet impactful design changes.
Thank you, Sage.
Early access to expansion cards, new draft rules, and a curated card pools that have had a profound impact on the game mode. This has worked out great. The popularity of Arena has shot way up, and so we want to do more. We are now working on a substantial and very cool update for Arena, and we'll be aiming to release it at the beginning of next year.
Thank you, Sage.
Taking bold and focused steps are the kinds of decisions our team are committed to do. We appreciate your passion for Hearthstone, and we won't always be perfect, but our promise is that we will listen and react as quickly as possible. We will keep an eye on what isn't working, as well as what we would like, while also doubling down and pushing further when we find something great. Okay, Schmoopydady, I feel like you had some comments here about. I mean, they're tooting their own horn a lot here with what they've done to Arena recently, and I feel like you had some comments here.
Yeah, I think every change they've made to Arena is an unequivocal success. The fact that you start with a legendary is that and then that builds out your draft. I can't tell you how bad it would be if you were like 29 cards deep in your draft and then you get a choice between 3 Highlander cards. It's especially the way that Highlander is coded now. It's not that you can't have dupes in your deck. It's you cannot start with dupes. I once made the mistake of starting a Druid run and picking Reastraza and be like, oh yeah, this can be great. This was the run immediately after my 12-win Druid run, my 1 12-win run ever, right?
Congrats.
And I started seeing good Druid cards, and I just started picking good Druid cards. And before I knew it, I was just like, oh my god, I've picked 3 Spyclash Sirens. My Reastraza has no text, right? And like that would happen even more frequently if you just randomly got a legendary or didn't in the middle of your draft. And so
Right.
I think they have like every right to be happy about their changes to the arena. Something that he doesn't mention here that I think is also a great quality of life improvement is the separate pools for people who concede their runs early. This is a practice to protect the general normal people public from a practice in the Chinese community where arenas, like high roll arena runs, do very well on their streaming services. It's just culturally, arena is a much bigger deal in China, but specifically like high roll arena runs. And so people will make fake accounts, and then we've gone through this as a podcast, and we've talked about this. Make fake accounts with a high roll, like farm gold, get a high roll draft, sell that account to a popular streamer. The popular streamer will buy it for a nominal sum of money and then play out the run, right? The account gets burned, discarded, never used ever again.
Yep.
But in order to get that special run, what you're basically doing is you're farming gold, and then you're conceding early when you don't get your high roll run, because that's the most cost-effective way to get actual money out of a free thing, because starting a Hearthstone account is free. So this leads to botting, this leads to all kinds of things and all kinds of practices that are a bit unsavory and lead to a larger, not positive Hearthstone experience. It's one of the reasons why we had so many bots in Wild for so long, was basically arena high rolling. Yeah. So they've taken those people who concede early and they put them in a separate pool so they can all play each other. So you can't completely get rid of the practice, because sometimes you really do get like crap runs. But people who are conceding multiple times in a row were kind of, for a long time, sort of shadow pushed into the separate pool. And then for whatever reason, they came out and talked about how the fact that, yes, you are actually pushed into a different pool. I would have hoped they kept it secret, but I think that's a great change, and that's a quality of life change. Yeah. And so like, if they're going to put the same sort of focused, thoughtful changes into the rest of Hearthstone that they have into Arena, I think Hearthstone's going to be an unequivocal success. Like, they take feedback. We can't say we don't have devs that don't take feedback. Like we complain and we moan as a community, and some people still think the Demon Seed should be banned or whatever, even though it's a very beatable deck. But like, and that's fine. At a certain point, like, it'll get the Secret Mage and Big Priest treatment. Keep in mind how long it took to get Shadow Essence to hit the 7 as your proper gauge for when that could happen.
Or the Kobold 2/1 to.
Or yeah, exactly. Or the Kobold Lackey getting the Kobold Lackey treatment, which absolutely killed the deck. But like, Wild, they have a light touch for it. That is what it is. But like, they do take our feedback very seriously. And if the larger community is just like, hey, this sucks, they go and they change it and they fix it. And they listen to our, and like, sometimes it's not in our best interest. Sometimes when it comes to the game balance, it's not in our best interest for them to make that change, but it's the change we want, and so by golly, we're gonna get it. And like, that's just like, I don't take this all as a negative. I got some, I don't know, some people are looking at this section and I don't know. They're looking at this section. They're being like, okay, well, this means they're going to kill Twist. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but like, again, it's like, I've seen so many people sort of react negatively to this section, but I can see why they should be happy about Arena and why they should be championing what's the changes in Arena right now. It's a big positive.
So to take that and run with it, first off, yeah, I mean, fun, focused, and fearless, and running with that. Yeah, that's corporate speak, and the
That's
executive
copy
producer
pasta.
mentioning like that, like totally tracks. I'm not going to dwell on that too much because like
It's a great
Yeah.
copy pasta.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to see a streamer low roll, and it's like the chat just go fun, focus, fearless, and just see a wall of that because that is coming.
FFFs in chat.
Fun, focus, fearless.
You heard it first here.
I want that
FFFs
command.
in chat.
I want that command.
All right.
remind me
so-
after stream, and I'll mention that, and I'll put it in. But
Yeah,
also,
so we
like,
have.
A-
Yeah, go
Arena has like taken so much feedback and run with it, and that's been great. But this past standard expansion, not this current one, but last one, there were tons of nerfs. And I think that they were largely impacted by community feedback. And Schmoopydady, to your point, I think that was detrimental to the game. Like I don't think that the nerfs that were implemented all the time, especially the first one, but also throughout, were necessary or necessarily good for the game. And I like this expansion. They're taking a later nerf and balance adjustment window. And I think that's a good first step. I hope that they continue to monitor the data rather than player sentiment. Not necessarily rather than player sentiment, and that's what I just said. But
That's a factor. That should be a factor, but just not.
it should
the
be
factor.
a factor, but not the
Not
factor.
the factor.
Yeah.
And
they have the
last
best data.
expansion,
They see everything.
yeah, they see everything. But last expansion, we got so many balance changes. It was here, it was there, it was everywhere, it was all the time. It was like super duper widespread. Like
The weird emergency one
Reno.
at the end, but it was like super necessary because the
Yeah.
meta was all Druid, but also Druid was fun.
That one I feel like was like
You needed
completely
it.
data driven and
Yeah.
needed. But we got one like within the first week, we got one now, we got one then, we got one all the time. And I feel like them being fun, focused, and fearless, however much that's like PR speak and C-suite speak, but them taking risks and then adjusting as necessary and not necessarily kowtowing to immediate player sentiment. Obviously, player sentiment is one part of the equation and an important one, but doing knee-jerk reactions like I feel like they did last expansion, don't like that. I feel like last expansion, keeping up with standard was ridiculous. Like there were tons of nerfs, there were tons of balance adjustments, and it was too much. It was way too much. And I feel like if they like turn that from 11 down to like a 7, then we'll be pretty happy. But we can't say that they're not listening because like last expansion proves not only are they listening, but they're listening like too much.
We got to find that balance, right? Like back when they only nerf something once a year, and now it's every week or two kind of thing. It's just it's so funny. The game has really evolved, and we appreciate you, Team 5, for listening to us, but we're
Yeah.
not always correct.
Yep.
Game balance is hard.
All right, so yeah, no, it is.
Game balance is hard.
It really is. So to wrap up this statement from Nathan, the section, thank you for the feedback. Hearthstone is here to stay.
In bold.
I was just going to say
Needs
that.
to be. Needs to be. No, that's good. It needs to be. It needs to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And while it has evolved and adapted over the past 10 years, one thing hasn't changed is the fact that there is an amazing team, but smaller team, behind it with as much passion and energy as ever. We have a fantastic upcoming slate of cards and themes exploring new stories that can be told within Azeroth and beyond, as well as events and features that we hope will surprise and delight you all. Many members of the team, myself included, Nathan, not Hydralisk, lurk in some Hearthstone communities because we're huge fans of the game. Well, if you're watching or listening or
Absorbing the
osmosis. This podcast today, Nathan, thank you.
Yes.
Yes. We have a shared passion and love for this community and want it to be the best it can be so we can enjoy it together. As a team, we frequently talk about what we are seeing and hearing from you. And we need to make this more of a two-way conversation. With that in mind, I commit to checking in here with you again before the end of the year to keep you updated with any further strategy changes. Until then, we hope you're enjoying Perils in Paradise and exploring new fun with the tourists. We'll see you in the tavern. Nathan, comments, questions, concerns, rumors?
Yes.
Sheep, you want to start?
I mean, where to start, really? Like, there's so much in this. Thank you for the feedback portion. So, yeah, Hearthstone is here to stay. We absolutely, that being bolded is important. Like, with people saying dead game all over the place, I mean, I feel like being part of Microsoft, like this is an acquisition, things are expected to change, saying Hearthstone is here to stay. Foundationally, like, we needed to hear someone say it. And they have.
Yeah.
We'd love to see that they're listening. Honestly, this past expansion, we've seen that probably a little bit too much. I'll be interested to see what Nathan says going forward. He commits to, in the subsequent 5 months from now, because he says that he'll say something again before the end of the year. We're July 26th, 2024. We should hear something else before the end of the year from Nathan in particular. What's he going to say? I mean, like, I really want to know what he's going to say there.
Yeah, I'm committed to more communication. I'll speak to you at least one more time this year. Halfway through the year.
But
yeah, go ahead.
Further strategy changes, checking in with us. Until then, like, he hopes that we enjoy Perils in Paradise. I hope that we enjoy Perils in Paradise too.
I am. I'm wearing the shirt. It feels fantastic, by the way. I'm enjoying this. And by the way, the expansion in standard is pretty fun.
You know, it really is. And I feel like last expansion would have been as well, was as well, but especially would have been even more so with more considered rather than frequent and knee-jerky balance adjustments, which I don't blame the team for. They're listening to us. But it was a lot.
I mean, you can blame them, and that's okay, because like it's constructive feedback that this is too much. But like, we just don't want to have to. We don't have to dogpile on either. It's just like, you know, like it's like well, this wasn't great, but I think they understand that too. Like that's very apparent that they're just like, yeah, we probably overdid it.
So, you know, honestly, if their team is a lot smaller than it used to be, maybe relying on the feedback is sort of where they've had to turn to, right? Like, if their team is so much larger and they're like, well, crap, like we used to be, let's just say 100 people, and now we're 40 people, just random numbers I'm pulling out of my butt. Like, we don't have as many people to like bounce.
Ah, crap. We lost Dave. Dave used to be really good at this, and Dave's not here anymore.
And Dave knew his crap, man.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
oh, man, we're lost without Dave.
He really did. Yeah, Dave's not here, man.
Dave was secretly the key to Hearthstone balance.
Yes,
Rip Dave.
Then maybe that is what they're doing. Maybe they are turning to the community a little bit for that. You know, a little bit like they can fall back on us. So let's be smarter, Hearthstone community. Let's not complain when we feel bad about it.
Oh man, you're asking the wild community to get smarter. I don't think that's happening. That's going in the opposite direction, unfortunately. Yeah.
Real quick.
Sure.
There was a previous section that I feel like was very important that I mistakenly didn't include in the original notes and stuff and things, which was making space for innovation and personalization. And this was before, thank you for your feedback in the notes. Hydra, this is not your fault. This was completely Sheep's fault. And that reads, when we decided not to make a board for Perils in Paradise, we should have let you know earlier. Yeah, you should have. Moving forward, we will ensure that you get early visibility on changes like this and give you more information on what we are working on instead. We are still planning to release 1 new board per year rather than 3. But we also have some ambitious ideas that we know will be a significant undertaking. Pulling back from 3 static game boards per year to 1 allows us to begin work, double space, on the coolest possible dynamic stuff, like a system to choose your favorite boards and pets. We've also heard so much positive feedback about Cthulhu, and so we're working on some truly groundbreaking hero skins. It's too soon, all caps, to go into more detail about what's coming, but we will fast track putting all existing Hearthstone boards into the standard format board rotation, which is interesting. We also surveyed a large group of you to ask what cosmetics would be most interesting. The responses were predominantly around further personalization of the play space, and this feedback reinforced our desire to innovate and challenge what we have always done. And I feel like this, and again, apologies to my co-host for not including this in the initial aspect. I feel like this is like the big one.
Drawing and quartering, I think, is the proper penalty for this.
I mean, honestly, correct. It introduces a new cosmetic. It says that additional boards, we're only going to get 1, but B, personalization is a thing, and C, that all existing Hearthstone boards into the standard format board rotation. That means like GVG will probably be in standard, the board rather, not the cards, will be in the standard board rotation, which, like, cool, but also it seems like there's a heavy focus on monetization here, and that's kind of like implied but not specified. Like pets, okay, that seems like a money thing. Groundbreaking new hero skins, like Cthulhu was a super big money thing. Potentially physical things, but also pets. King Plush. I want King Plush on my board. And honestly, to me, this is the big discussion point, because this shows to me that there's going to be a lot more things that are monetized. And to me in particular, and this is why, like, when we were going through the thank you for the feedback part, I was like, wait, the big thing was missing. That's what was going through my mind, because I personally have, until this point, bought all of the cosmetics that I can. And they're announcing that there are going to be more cosmetics. And to me, this shows that if they're going to be pets, if they're going to be potentially, they didn't mention it here, but if board personalization is a thing and something that we're probably going to have to pay for. Again, they don't say that here, but I'm assuming.
Or does that just mean favoriting your boards, like adding it to, like how personal, how much is that personalization? Like selecting your favorite coin, selecting your favorite hero, selecting your favorite board. Is it that, or
yeah,
does
I
it
think
get deeper?
Maybe
I just
maybe you can
question.
chop and change your favorite quarters of the board. I don't know. And I found a lot of people.
That's
a
a
lot
good
of people
question.
are going super dark to like. Does this mean we're gonna have to pay for all our boards? And like, that's not what they're saying here. They're not saying you're gonna have to pay for boards. That means you're gonna get to pay for customization of your boards. I'm assuming, like, I don't know, you can change colors, or you could swap out, like, you know, different corners. Like, how cool would that be if you could get like your favorite sections? Like, I honestly, I wouldn't mind having the Dark Moon Fair, not Dark Moon Fair. Yeah. No, the Skullman's staircase on my bottom left, and like, I don't know, like one of the, like maybe the March of the Lich King top right on my board, because like I can activate the sword thingy and I can make the staircase fall, and I like that a lot. Like maybe that's like that's you know what people want. Like I think that'd be a cool, hopefully easy thing to make happen in the client, but that's going to take work, right? Like people are going to have to really work towards that and not have that be buggy.
And for me in particular, I have purchased all of the hero portraits at this point. Now they're introducing pets, essentially. I mean, they haven't announced that that's going to cost money, but like
MTG Arena does that too, by the way. Well, there's going to be, listen, you're going to get your free pet, and then you're going to get get your, like, if you want to upgrade
TFT.
it, you do it. Yeah. TFT. Yeah. People like pets.
Yeah. And honestly, for me, this is not going to change how I engage with the game as a player, but it is going to change the way that I engage with the game as a consumer, because
Sheep, if there is a polymorph like pet,
You know there's going to be a polymorph
Oh, yeah.
sheep, and you're going to be
I'm
like,
gonna have to. So I'm not committing to not spending money on cosmetics, but what I am committing to is, to this point, if there's a cosmetic thing, I've just like not even thought about it. I've just like bought it. And this has kind of caused me to assess, like, pets, that's probably going to be a money thing. Boards, is there going to be like a money aspect to that too? They've really increased the amount of portraits that they've released. I've been spending a lot more money than I realized just on things that I may or may not be like engaging with in the game. I should cut back on that, shouldn't I? Yeah, I really should. And so as a consumer, again, not as a player, this making space for innovation in personalization section, this 3 paragraphs, is changing how I'm going to engage with the game on a consumer basis. Because, yeah, pets are cool. Let's be real. I'm going to buy a few of these pets. I'm not going to buy all these pets.
No.
And because I'm kind of engaging with that critically, now I'm engaging with how I spend money on other cosmetic portions of the game more critically too. Am I going to spend as much money trying to get all of the signatures? Maybe not. Am I going to buy all of the hero portraits? I have in the past, but there's so many of them now, and like we see them in the client. No, I'm not going to buy all the hero portraits going forward. I'm not playing with all of them. So for me in particular, I know I'm a Hearthstone whale, but like I was buying all of the hero portraits to keep that full collection thing, and now they're introducing another chapter and another thing to keep up with, and it's kind of leading me to engage, to think about how I'm engaging with the game from a consumer standpoint. And it's probably going to lead to me engaging with the game in a more healthy way, not buying just everything just because it's there.
Dude, you could spend that $300 on your car.
Right?
You could pay for food.
But also, like, now that pets are going to be a thing too. Like, yeah, like if a king plush comes out, I'm going to buy a king plush. If a polymorph anything comes out, like, yeah, I'm going to buy that. But like, if something comes out that I'm not particularly interested in, rather than just going like, yeah, I had to keep my full collection, I'm not. I'm just not. And I don't know that that's a bad move on the team's part, like giving additional options for people to spend money on the game. But for me as an admitted whale in the game, like I'm just going to buy things that I'm interested in going forward. And that's probably how I should have engaged with the game initially anyway. But it's going to carry forward to the things that I was already just going to like unthinkingly buy in general. Hero portraits, card backs, etc. So all in all, for me as a consumer, it's going to change my habits.
It's a hard trigger to pull. Honestly, it was for me when like it well over a year ago, maybe to this point, when I stopped buying cosmetics. It was like, you know what? I love having everything, but they started coming out with 3D stuff and everything for like the heroes. I'm like, you know what? $30 for a hero skin, no thanks. Like all this stuff. I was like, at this point, I've got like 20 or 30 hero portraits for like every class, something ridiculous, and I haven't paid for any in I can't remember how long.
Yeah,
just because there's so many,
and like rewards track stuff too. Yeah, like levels, just getting levels.
Like you don't have to. Like they may come out with. Like, I didn't buy, like, Cthulhu's awesome. I didn't buy it.
Your loss.
And the way
basically,
that
basically ends the druid class, basically. Like, once you get by Cthulhu, that's it. It's over.
The way that I personally am going to engage with it going forward is just, like, rather than, like, oh, it's for sale. Yeah, I'm going to buy that. Now I'm going to actually look at it and go, like, oh, do I want to play this? Yeah, okay, then I'll buy it. No? Am I going to favorite this? Then if the answer is no, then I'm not going to buy it. And honestly, that'll probably save me a lot of money.
Yeah. Okay, Schmoopydaddy's already lost all the blood in his right arm and has switched to his left arm.
Classic.
What's up?
No, so like, it's funny because I was here for this part. I haven't been playing Hearthstone very long. I came in at like Boomsday, which is like still like, 5.5 years. Yeah, 5.5 years, but not as long as some people. I still remember when cosmetics were full on FOMO, where it's like they came out with a new cosmetic, you hopped on it because you weren't going to see another one in possibly years. Like literally, like you won't see one for another 6 months. And so what they've done is when they changed the approach, they're just like, okay, well, let's just make it like a deluge of cosmetics. Let's just soak you in cosmetics. And so what that has done to some of the old guard is just like, we are conditioned to like cosmetic come out, buy cosmetic. But then they started coming out with cosmetics and I'd look at them and be like, this one's not for me. It's not necessarily good. It's not necessarily bad, but this one's not for me. I can't be spending $15 here and there right now. And so, like, I don't think giving more options is a bad thing. Giving as many options as you want can only be a good thing.
Yeah.
Sheep, you're an exception because you're saying, okay, I'm getting more options. I now need to be more critical in how I spend. But for some people, there are many people who are like, I won't spend anything. And then all of a sudden that one thing comes by. And they say, oh, I'll buy that. That looks really cool. And if there's two people who do that, that might offset your more critical analysis of how much you spend. And so, like, I think adding more options is fine. Hearthstone is a business. Like, they need to make money on the game, guys. Like, it's not a utopia where we can all play for free and get stuff and everything's all great. It's still a business. They have to make money somehow.
I haven't played for free in like almost a decade.
This is a way that they can make money on the game. That and again,
Streets,
and I don't think
first time I paid money.
Whispers.
I don't know. I think, you know what? I think Ashes. Might have been Ashes. No, you know what it was? The first thing I spent money on in this game, the bundle for the Wild Open. It came with that hero portrait, the Thunder King. And I was just like, I want to support the tournament.
I am the slayer of kings and gods.
And I agonized over it. I'm just like, dude, you're not. Are you really getting sunk into this right now? It's like, I really want to support the tournament. And so I supported the tournament. And I did it. And I remember that. And that was once the pandemic hit, that was a slippery slope. I'm like, this is your in. You just go. But I think more options is a good thing. I think more cosmetics is a good thing. I think more customization is a good thing. I don't think they're going to paywall the freaking board, guys. Like, I've seen some people on Reddit be like, or some servers in Discord that are just like, well, they're going to make you pay for the one board a year. Like, no freaking shot. Is that how this team operates? No. They don't operate that way. You're always going to get a free option. And then if you want to take the free option, you want to customize it, you customize it. If you want to pay for that, great. If you don't want to pay for that, okay. But like, we're gonna give you options where you can pay to upgrade it. I don't think that's a bad thing. And it's not like, again, we always want to talk about like predatory practices in online gaming. And like, yeah, okay, I'm never going to say that Hearthstone isn't guilty of that sometimes, but I don't think this is one of those times. This is just like good business. Ways to make money. Sheep, go ahead.
Like, can't even see your board.
A little concerned, not necessarily concerned so much as curious as to how that's going to decide what board we get. Because if we're favoriting them, kind of like coins or card back or choosing for a particular deck what board we're putting forward. Y'all, we play Wild. Are we going to basically choose what our transfer student does? Because like as soon as I saw that like the board was going to be changing, like that we weren't going to be getting a new one, transfer student is immediately where I went.
I think they just changed transfer student. It's one card. I think they just make it. Here's your new brand. Transfer student is banned. For one thing, Sheep, you're thinking of transfer student. No freaking shot on my grandfather's grave are they considering transfer student making any of these decisions. Like if that's the case, there's no shot transfer student is anywhere near the radar. Can you still get a golden transfer student? I'm pretty sure you can. I'm pretty sure there's a way that you're supposed to. Like they're supposed to play like 18 BG's games and like click 13 boards and like do the hokey pokey in the mirror while you say Bloody Mary 5 times. However, you're supposed to freaking do it. It's in there. It's coded. But I guarantee they are not thinking about transfer student. So justice for
and
transfer
really,
student.
how
No,
broken would
I'm
transfer
making-
student be if you chose
I'm making
your
content
board?
right now.
Not super broken.
Justice for transfer student. They didn't think about transfer student when they made this decision. All right, there we go. We've got our clickbait title right now. Justice for transfer student. No, I like they aren't thinking about transfer student when they do this. That's fine. Okay, they'll just ban transfer student. They'll be like, all right, weirdos, we'll figure out something to do with it in a minute.
Really, even if they're not like changing transfer student, if it's like, okay, you get to choose what transfer student does that really break anything? I don't think so. But does it change what I'm going to play? Maybe. Like, am I going to play an even shaman where I know what transfer student does? Maybe. Maybe not. I mean, I don't know. It's just one of the many variables to include. As for the ramifications, not the like things that they're deciding for what happens with it, not the motivation, but one of the ramifications. It's one of the many variables. Hydra, you wanted to say a thing?
Oh no, I was just gonna say that there was a secret to unlocking Golden Transfer Student, and what you have to do is play a single game in Dalaran's Heist, and then switch to Tombs of Terror and play a single game. Then Galakron's Awakening, play a game. Trial by Fellfire, play a game, and then Rexar's Book of Heroes and play a game, and that unlocks the Golden Transfer.
I've never done the Rexar's Book of Heroes. That's my problem, probably.
I've done all of these things. I didn't think about it because I've played all of the content that they've given us.
Yeah, I don't think I ever like followed this rule. It just happened one time. Like, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
That's hilarious.
So, making space for innovation in personalization. I feel like for us, this is probably the big one. I didn't mean to detract away from the finale of the announcement, but I also forgot to include this erroneously. It wasn't necessarily forgetting so much as just like misclicking, not including it.
Drawing and quartering. Sorry, sheep. We're just gonna have to have a. We're just gonna have to have a.
Fair. But this is the most important part for us in particular, which is why drawing and quartering is a fair ramification.
I agree. Could we do the last part? Because
So-
I did have a thing about the last part too.
Absolutely. Thank you for your feedback. Schmoopy, tell us what you think about this thing.
Yeah, so like as like a whole statement, if you read it quickly, I think Doc Delight summed it up best in a server where we shared the same server where he said it feels like a 1,000 words on an essay were due, but only 150 words of content. Like if you're not reading between the lines and you're just quickly reading through this and you don't really understand the situation or what's going on, you're kind of left like, that's it. Kind of like what Hydra said, where it's just like they promise more clarity, and then they aren't clear.
Thanks for nothing.
And so like you get some people that are just like you get a lot of people that are just like, oh no, our hair is on fire. The game is in maintenance mode now. I will say that like I found this in general to be a little bit heartening. That there is a direction.
Yeah.
I would love to have learned more information about where specifically they're looking to go and what features they want to improve, because I think that specificity is needed. And then there's kind of a disconnect between how intelligent, and I understand why, because I also read the Hearthstone community. I think there's a disconnect sometimes with how intelligent, like, the most engaged Hearthstone enjoyers are, the most vocal and engaged Hearthstone enjoyers are, and like what we end up getting in press releases, because like the really creative ones are given a lot of room to kind of again, maybe it's unique to this community, maybe not. Just get negative and read between the lines and pick the worst possible outcomes because there's wiggle room in the text for those outcomes to be picked. I felt okay reading this. Like I was honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was waiting for the maintenance mode announcement to a certain extent because like that's where my mind went. Where I was just like, I don't know, no cinematic and no board. This could be really bad. Like this could be the beginning of the end, and it wasn't. Like, you know, again, we'll meme forever. Another 10 years, another decade in the tavern for Hearthstone. Like, it is 10 more years. 10 more years. It would not be the first time that they announce one thing and end up doing something completely different. Like, right? Like, that's happened sometimes in the community. And so, like, I felt overall more positive, but at the same time, you know, like, I wish we learned more. There's a lot you have to read between the lines and parse out and kind of like know a little bit of background knowledge, and what we can share here we can share, but also we're also NDA'd up. So like there's a lot of stuff we can't talk about, but at the same time, in a lot of cases, we're just as in the dark about you. Hydra, did we see this last night, this statement, I think?
Yeah, like we'll get a heads up on some of this stuff, like not that much.
Sometimes a couple days. This was pretty short notice.
Like, yeah, so it's like, oh, hey, cool. We've got something to talk about on the show later this week because we've got the announcement early kind of thing. But yeah, it's usually like honestly, it's almost just like a reward for being a content creator. You kind of just know like a day or two in advance. The idea is to be able to create content about it ahead of time, right? So you're prepared. That kind of thing. But yeah, it's like we don't know this stuff like months in advance. Something like we don't know we don't know nothing.
This was actually
right? We just figure it out like a few days before everybody else. That's about it.
This was short enough notice. I actually automatically assumed it was going to be bad because I thought if they're not giving us a lot of headway, they must want it to drop like a brick on the community, and it was fine. And maybe that was a tactic, but like I don't know. Some of the community is still like running around with their head on fire. I think it's fine.
Honestly, most of this was kind of a nothing burger. Truthfully, like most of it was just kind of like, yeah, there wasn't a board. Like there'll be one a year. 1,000
word essay, 150 words of content. Yep.
I told Mrs. Hydra that we didn't get a board and that people were losing their crap over it.
And she's like, so what?
Well, no. She was like, well, that's stupid. The board is so cool.
Oh, it was like a disconnect. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I was like, because I was kind of like, big deal. It's not like the end of the world. We still got a cool expansion. Like, there's all this stuff going on and everything. I'm like, and everyone's losing their crap over it. And she's like, yeah, but I always see you clicking on the stuff, and it's so cool. Like, I'd be choked, is what she was saying. And I'm like, you know what? And that's maybe the more casual side, right? Coming from her, who doesn't even play the game. She just sees me complain about patches all the time. Like she was like, I get it. I totally get why people would be pissed about that.
And that's the majority of Hearthstone users.
I may be the most engaged casual player there is because like a new board comes out and I'm like, oh, I'm going to click that. I want to see what's up.
I'm going to click that.
Yeah. Right? I'm going to click it. But like I play around with the board every single game, literally every single game. Whether it's on mobile, whether it's on PC, regardless, I'm moving stuff around. I'm pushing buttons.
Sure.
The board is a big deal to me. And even at that, this announcement was pretty much like, okay, I'm getting one board a year instead of 3. That sucks, but like I can live with it. It would have been good if I had known this before they like just didn't give me one. But okay, I get it.
But you can customize your board.
And what does that look like though? Because they don't use the word customize, they use the word personalize.
They probably are still trying to figure out with the client what they can really do and what limits they can test. And so they're ambitious and they have ideas, but they need to test them. And I think we all know the client can be a little bit fickle at times. And so they need to make sure that works before they promise something and then they can't deliver. Because if you promise something to this community and you can't deliver, then it really gets cranky. If you think it's cranky now, it gets even crankier before. But still, this is a weird summer of discontent for the community. I don't know if you guys feel it too.
Truly.
I feel like it's way worse than it's ever been. And it's just bizarre to me because, again, I watched an hour-long YouTube video about a rival game. Okay, I won't say what it is. And so it's like NFT based, and so they're going through like what they like or don't like about the game. And like the UI is a mess and there's a ton of empty space. And at one point, the guy who's making the video is actually playing Hearthstone. Like, he uses an app where he can play multiple games in multiple windows. He's actually playing Hearthstone in the corner of one part of the UI, but also he's got like another game running in the other part of the UI, while Hearthstone, he's like waiting for turns to be taken. And also there's a picture of Family Guy going in the bottom of the UI, just to demonstrate like the interface for the user. While it's not perfect for Hearthstone, it's pretty good. The cards, the fact that you can read the text, the language in the cards is very good. Listen, I would never argue in court. I would never become a Hearthstone lawyer in court and then try to argue with language, because sometimes the language is ridiculous. But like a lot of other card games, there's no serious competitor for Hearthstone right now. Like, they've done such a good job. They boxed out everybody. Maybe Snap. But Snap makes card acquisition so difficult that it's like they're kind of hamstringing themselves, right?
I feel like they are, but if we're looking at market share, Snap probably has more at this point, and it's because of the IP rather than the card acquisition. We mentioned Snap as the one alternative. Continue, Schmoopydady.
My greater point is, like, Hearthstone needs a better, more high-quality rival, so that, if for no other reason, the community itself can appreciate what it has in Hearthstone right now. Because what it has in Hearthstone right now is, like, readable card text. They're continuing to update the card text. The fact they changed Solarium, like they made temporary a keyword, so that a lot of those cards make a lot more sense, I think is genius. It's great. Perfect idea. They even changed the text on Solarium. How long has Solarium been out? About as long as I've been playing.
Ages.
A little bit longer. Yes, since ancient time. And so, like, if Hearthstone doesn't have a serious rival, its only rival is a nostalgic version of itself, and it's never going to win. And something that he brings up in this statement is that Hearthstone continues to adapt. It does. It changes. But I think something that it's missing on right now is, well, I'm still enjoying something like Wild, and I'm enjoying it at the MMR I'm at. They're not doing a good job of bringing in, or maybe we're in a lull where there's people that were prominent that are fading out of the game. It's not their game anymore, but that's okay. You need new people to fill in, though. You need new people to come in the next wave and to be the new set of people that are going to bring the game forward, especially for something like content creation, which is like your step forward thing. So like I last night, I literally wrote my stream title, Last Wild Hearthstone Streamer Still Having Fun in Wild, because that's how I feel sometimes. Like I see like my fellow Wild streamers either have quit or they're not having fun making the content that they're making 100% of the time. And, like, I'm still having fun. And I think the game is changing, and that's not a bad thing, because the game has to progress, right? Like, it has to get more interesting. The power level has to ratchet up. Power creep's not a swear word, because if everything stayed the same the whole time, then it'd get boring, and like, it would lose interest. So where's the next generation coming in to fill in where the core bets, the get-me-outs, the people that were prominent in our community are leaving? I don't know if Blizzard is necessarily doing the best they can, and I don't know how they do this. I'm not an expert in this field. I don't know how you market it to bring in the next wave of people, But I think this is something that Standard kind of has to come to grips with, because Standard's always complaining about, well, the power levels keeps ratcheting up. It's going to keep ratcheting up. Like, that's just a reality. You're either going to take the heat or you're going to get out of the kitchen. So how are you going to get new people in that appeals to? That's going to be interesting and make or break for Hearthstone, I think, in the future.
And I feel like for Wild in particular, we're kind of at a crosswords isn't the right word, but an inflection point, because you're right. People like Get Meowth and Corbett are no longer streaming Wild, but like Schmoopydady, I've been watching your stream like on the regular. Earlier this week, whenever I haven't been doing school stuff, you're routinely hitting like 50 viewers without raids. Like you are one of these, like, not just up and coming, but like you're kind of here for those like Wild content creators. Flair is another one, predominantly on YouTube rather than Twitch, but like,
yeah, he does a lot of talk throughs, like a lot of discussing Hearthstone, not a lot of gameplay, but that's fine, because like right now there's a huge market for people who want to talk about Hearthstone but not actually play the game, which is more to my point of just like the game is leaving some people who love the game. Where's the fill-in? Like, where's the next gen?
And that's kind of where we're at right now. And my personal opinion is that with like the old guard, not necessarily old guard, but the middle old guard is kind of retiring. And we're at an inflection point where the new guard is taking the mantle. And there are some people who have been doing this thing the whole time, like Mark, who are continuing to do this thing. There are some people who are recent arrivals to the streaming world, like you, Schmoopydady, who are filling that void. And there will be more people, and there will be people who have like been here, but who gain additional followers, acolytes, viewers, etc. that kind of fill that void. I don't think that your point is invalid whatsoever, but I do think that people leaving the game and people, or at the very least streaming the game, is not unusual, particularly for an Eternal format. There are other people who are sticking around, and Schmoopydady is a fantastic one. One of the people who's been there for forever and is continuing to be there is like Martian Boo. Martian's fantastic. If you don't follow Martian, like what are you doing? We've had him on the show multiple times and should again, because like Marshy's amazing. There are still people who are continuing to stream the game, and there are new people filling the void of people who are leaving as well. In my personal opinion. Now, I'm less engaged in Twitch now than I have been previously. See aforementioned grad program and new family. But if I'm looking for people to follow or watch who are playing Wild content, I can find them. Now, I'm super engaged in the Wild community, so that's not like unreasonable, but
it's a very small
I can find
group.
them.
It's a very small group. We all talk to each other.
but it always has been a small group.
Yeah.
Like that's not a new development.
It's gotten smaller though. Small group gotten smaller.
It's gotten smaller, but there have been new people who have arisen. Schmoopydady, you're one of them. Curly Wordy is another new one. Yeah, she also plays Standard, but like people who play Wild,
she dips her toe in
pretty much
Wild though.
always
She's
have.
not afraid to dip her toe in Wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I would like to say here though is I don't want to discount. There are at any point in time you can go on Twitch, click on Hearthstone. There are like dozens of people streaming the game that are smaller names that have 2 people watching. one person watching even, right? Like 5-10 people watching. And I mean, people don't flock to those streams because they don't know who they are. They like to click on the bigger number. One of my favorite like random late night things to do, I haven't gone to bed yet, it's like 1 a.m. I click on one of those streams where they've got one person watching, and I like to talk, like I'll talk in chat and
Sure,
engage
yeah.
with them. It's super fun to do, and they're like, oh yeah, I play this, but I live in New Zealand, so this is a weird hour. I know you guys who live in North America don't necessarily like see this, and also there are people doing it, and like regularly. They just, you know, they're small time at this point. And if we're talking about up and coming, maybe that's where it is. It's just that you know, people magnetize to these bigger streamers, the ones that are left doing this, right? Like y'all know when Kibler logs on, everyone's clicking on Kibler and watching him.
Oh yeah,
Like that. Just,
me among them.
that
Yeah,
just, like it just happens.
I don't follow Kibler.
Right? I'm telling you,
I probably
if-
should.
Kibler's awesome.
If Firebat was just deciding he was going to stream again, then guess what? I'm watching Firebat all day.
Keith
right?
Numbers
yeah.
used to worship the ground that Firebat walked on, like just as like a, like just like knowing his journey as a player, as a Magic player into a Hearthstone player, like very rags to riches, very much on merit. Like yeah, like you're right, Firebat, like somebody you pay attention to. But again, the game is getting a little smaller and losing a little bit less. It's not the shiny brand new thing anymore. And so like it does have to figure out a way to bring in the next set of audience. I don't know
Sure.
what new fancy way to market that is, but it's got to do it.
but
Pets should be
also
Daddy. It's pets.
pets may
Pets.
be part of that equation.
There's a
But
freaking
also,
rock
how
for
many-
MTG Arena. A rock is going to end it. A rock with eyeballs, googly eyeballs, is going to end it for Hearthstone. That's the nuts.
Also, how many like live service games last 10 years? It's
1%?
not a lot, yo.
Is it 1%?
It might be, and
Is it less
Hearthstone
than
has
1%?
been here. It probably is less than 1%.
I mean, it's doing a good job of sticking around, in all honesty. And
Yeah.
it's a money maker. If it wasn't a money maker, it would have been gone a long time ago.
True.
Especially after the acquisition, like CS:GO, League of Legends, WoW. Like, sure, Tom Carter brings 3 good examples.
How many have come and
Exactly.
gone?
How
Out of
many haven't lasted?
Millions of video games.
How many haven't lasted a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years,
Development.
7 years, 10 years? Like
hype in development into like nothing. Still waiting on
Yeah.
some games.
So it's not to say that games don't make it 10 years, but like
Yeah.
it's the exception to the rule. And Hearthstone is still here, and Hydra, to your point, not only still making money, but still making enough money to be like relevant. So I'm honestly heartened by the statement, particularly like bolded, that Hearthstone is here to stay. In that, thank you for your feedback. And I'm glad that it's in bold, because it's earned it. Like we're at the 10-year anniversary, and yeah, honestly, at the 10-year anniversary, I would expect more things to be jubilant than it is. But like, y'all, that's not how Hearthstone is. We've always been grumpy. We've always been vocal. We've like that. That's been Hearthstone, y'all.
Dude, Microsoft, if like you gotta bet that when Microsoft was purchasing Blizzard Entertainment, they're looking like, okay, which one of these games can we axe, right? Like, which one is not making us money?
Sure.
Companies do that all the time, right? Unfortunately, the employees took it instead of a lot of the games, right? But this bold Hearthstone is here to stay is basically a confirmation that Microsoft has full confidence in the game and is allowing it to just continue on for like hopefully another decade or more, like they're saying, right?
Yeah.
It's in bold.
And not to say that they wouldn't be communicating to us if it was otherwise, but I don't think that they would say that Hearthstone is here to stay if that wasn't the intent. Like that's bolded, that's underlined, that's like the thesis of the conclusion here, right? If that wasn't the case, then they just wouldn't say it. It's not that they would say like, it's going away in a year. They just wouldn't address it. And the fact that they're saying that Hearthstone is here to stay is honestly reassuring for me as a content creator, like as a podcaster right here.
Are we ready to transition to Wild as it is? Because Hearthstone's here to stay. Let's talk some Wild.
Yeah, buddy.
All right.
Schmoopydady, take us into the current state of Wild.
Sure. So what I have observed at 3K Legend in Perils in Paradise is basically anything that is good is still good. Mm-hmm. Null Rogue, still good. Probably still the best deck in the format. Reno Paladin to counter Null Rogue, probably still good. Still would definitely play that. Would you still play Reno Druid, Schmoopy? Yes. I would play that, sure. Yes, I would still play Reno Druid, and that had some new tools, and that got a little bit better. So what you're seeing is you're not seeing anything new necessarily storm Wild and bring something new and unique and flip it on its head. It's more about instead either making some decks better or making some new tier 3, 4, maybe low 2-ish decks come in and do the thing. So, like, I'll give you an example. So, like, I think my favorite deck to play right now that is brand new to Perils of Paradise, really cool deck, is Copper Scum's Tempo Mage. So you look at it and you're like, you see a Flame Waker and you want to hold stuff back, but no. Flame Waker has 4 health. You're tempoing out stuff. The mulligan is basically like find 1-drops. Find your Iron Deep Trog against assumed Miracle Rogue. If you don't find it, put your head between your legs and kiss your butt goodbye. But otherwise, you're looking for 1-drops to buff with the Paladin spells because you're playing the Mage Paladin Tourist. And what's really cool about this deck is Concierge reduces all of your Paladin cards by 1 mana when Concierge is on the board. So if you get a Flame Waker down, you get your Flame Waker to stick. And then you drop your Concierge behind it, and you've got a bunch of Paladin buff spells behind it. I mean, it's we're back to Sork Apprentice. We're raining down fire on the opponent, but not only are we raining down fire on the opponent, we're buffing a Flame Waker stacks to then go face with attack. So the explosiveness of this deck is really cool. And I'll be honest, I had a moment of impurity, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Copper Scum.
He's not that sorry.
I questioned why you included Volume Up. Why on Yogg's Green Earth are we including Volume Up in this list? It's too slow. And then I played it, and I got 2 0-mana sea shanties. And I said, I am but a worm, and Copper Scum is the creator. And I should not question Copper Scum. This deck, Copper Scum has already renounced. He calls it unplayable crap because he's reached an MMR where he can no longer win with it. But it is a very cool, very fun, strong, off-meta, new deck that you could play. Wouldn't shock me if it rated high 3, low 2s. Very cool.
That's my sweet spot.
Not all that expensive.
I can testify that I was being a dirty pirate rogue player on day 1 or 2 or whatever, and then got destroyed by this deck.
This
And
does
I was like,
okay
what is
in the pirate
happening?
rogue, yeah, like the
Yeah,
fact
I
that
was
you
like,
can like
why are we playing Flame Waker? What's happening?
board
No.
board-based
Where'd
aggro,
my
like
board go?
his first
Where's my
game on
board?
one of his streams, I watched him get destroyed by a Shadow Priest, and he's just like, honestly, we're kind of favored probably 60-40 into Shadow Priest. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how? And then I watched the next game, he queued into a Shadow Priest, and he absolutely dumpstered them by making, like, big things and tempoing a Flame Waker, and then he got a Concierge behind it, and he's playing drinks, and I'm like, oh, damn, yeah, this is not fair for the Shadow Priest. They don't
yep.
know what's coming to them. So I would encourage anybody to try this out. This deck is very cool. This is new. This is using, again, Perils in Paradise, new things. Sick list. Love it. Enjoying it. It's one of my guilty pleasures off stream that I'm playing more than once. Next, I'll probably go to Pirate DH. I have it labeled as Corb/Marty Pirate DH. So this is basically what you'd expect for the best parts of standard Pirate DH, but hey, we've added wild parts to it. And mostly what we're looking to do is focus the draw behind the deck behind Magnifying Glaive. So we're trying to keep the curve low. But something like Hosen Roughhouser?
Yeah.
It's so busted, we have to include a 3-mana card in a Magnifying Glaive list. The Cliffs. We have to include that in a Magnifying Glaive list. Arana. Well, why are we playing Arana? Well, because we're going to play Acupuncture and Brain Masseuse. 2 new cards to Perils of Paradise. Brain Masseuse, you wouldn't realize it, but it's a 1-mana 2/4 pirate that pulls patches. It's a priest card. We want that in our list. If you put Arana down and you play Acupuncture, that is 1 mana, deal 8 damage. 4 if it goes face, 4 if it goes God knows where. But you know what? If it goes face, great! Right? So, like, we love that as a decent finisher, especially against a deck that is not going to have a ton of board presence. This is running your Sock Puppet. This is running your Fiend. You're doing the silly.
Yeah.
Your Adrenaline Fiend. You're doing the silly, the Sigils, and Treasure Distributor. If you've not seen the interaction between the Treasure Distributor and Sigils yet, I highly recommend it.
So good.
It might make you vomit in your mouth a little bit, watching how well it works. Because it's kind of gross. Watching all the little 1/1s with charge become 2/1s with charge, and your treasure distributor keeps getting bigger. This has Fellwing, I think. Does this have Fellwing? This list does not have Fellwing, but
Nope.
that's okay. This list, I've seen Fellwing come in and out of this list a couple times. You get the idea. Brand new deck. I've gotten turn 4 lethals with this deck. It's got Ziliax as the top end, but it's the Ziliax that gets cheaper with every minion you play, so it makes a ton of sense in this deck. This deck, brand new to Perils in Paradise. I think my last deck that was brand new to Perils in Paradise...
Before you go on,
Sure.
Arana and Acupuncture is
Yes.
worth it enough. I'm not familiar with the other one that you mentioned, Brain
Masseuse, 1 mana 2/4 pirate.
Oh, that one. Yeah, that one's
But
good.
you take the damage that it receives.
But it's a 1 mana 2/4.
But it's a 1 mana 2/4.
Cool. Yeah, so like just Arana and yeah. Just Arana and Acupuncture is totally worth playing Arana.
I agree.
Especially because of the Acupuncture like synergy with Arana. But Brain Masseuse, like, especially knowing now what Brain Masseuse is, the 1 mana 2/4. Yeah, all of the above. Yeah, that just sounds incredible.
And it gets buffed when it attacks if Hosen's on board, and it sticks because it's a 2/4. So it becomes a 3/5, then it becomes a 4/6, and then it keeps.
I'm gonna play this deck.
You should. This is
I'm
a
going
fawn
to.
deck. This is a sheep deck for
Did
sure.
you just load the client?
Maybe.
He might have. He might have a little bit. Last but not least.
Oh, I have some news stories tonight.
Last but not least,
Hey,
and this is
turn it off.
a brand new archetype that did not exist before Perils in Paradise came out. The Pupil OTK, I'm calling it. Miracle Rogue, where you run Bran, Mailbox Dancer, and Tidepool Pupil. And what you attempt to do is you attempt to bank spells in Tidepool Pupil. One of those spells has to be Shadow Step. You play Bran,
Yeah.
Mailbox Dancer. Mailbox Dancer gets you 2 coins. In part, this is to trigger the Pupil later. Play the Pupil, grab double Shadow Step the Mailbox Dancer, Shadow Step the Pupil, rinse, repeat. You're literally printing mana. It's an infinite mana combo. The one thing that is holding this back is animations. We could probably make, without animations, a 60-60 weapon. We could, using breakdances, breakdance minions back and clear taunts. We could do all sorts of things. And if there was ever a card to get touched, if there was ever a thing to get 63, says Tom Carter. Thank you, Tom Carter. If there's ever a thing to get banned from Wild, it'd be Tidepool Pupil for this very deck, for this very reason, because animation cheaters will take advantage of it. I haven't seen it everywhere yet, so I'm not worried about it yet. But give it a few months if people want to get into it. This is an example of the deck. This is the deck that Raxius was using. She did stream a little bit of Wild playing this deck. Her win rate's about 50%. She thinks about half the time she's losing, she's throwing. But she did stream it, and very importantly, in our Discord, in the Rogue section, she has a link to a Twitch clip where she gets a turn 3 lethal. So you should go check that out. The pattern of play for this sounds complicated. It's not. Having played through it, having looked at it, it looks cool, and I can even have a little bit of an inside track that might make it easier for you. OTZ thinks that perhaps the Dark Moon Fair coin has a shorter animation than the other coins. So if you really want to try this deck and get maximum strats, you could try the Dark Moon Fair coin. Our good friend Jordan MG tried the Dark Moon Fair coin, and he felt like he was getting a bigger weapon. Again, all of this is rumor and circumstance, and I don't have anything to back it up. But you heard it here first, Born to Be Wild listeners. Perhaps the Dark Moon Fair coin is the nuts. So these are 3 examples of like brand new decks that are on the periphery of the Wild meta. Where do I put the Pupil OTK? You know how annoying the version of Tog Druid is with Puppet Master?
Yep.
It's not a good deck. It's not a good deck.
No.
It dies to...
Good? No. Annoying?
No.
Yes.
Annoying, yes. I would put Pupil OTK probably a half step above this as far as viability goes. I watched Raxius destroy somebody on turn 3. I also watched Raxius die to 2 taunts. So like there's like a lot to be decided as far as like overall lethality of this deck. I think you could also play this deck, and when you play this deck, you lose to Radon 2. Like it's just it's easy to interfere with. However, the fact that cheating could buff it up, and they're very sensitive to that, could put it on the radar to get nerfed. So Pirate DH, Pupil OTK, what was the first one I shared? Copper's Tempo Mage. 3 new decks.
Yeah.
You could play new
Flamewalker.
Peril cards. All I would say are around like high tier 3, low tier 2 as far as effectiveness in the meta. Nothing really super shaking it up, but weird stuff you could play on the edges. Mostly, and I gave the example of Shadow Priest because this is one of the things that I see pretty frequently. New Shadow Priest plays Acupuncture, and we play Brain Masseuse. So, looking at the list now, it's almost entirely Pirates, Except now we're playing 3 burn spells. We're playing Mind Seer, we're playing Acupuncture, and we're playing Mind Blast. So the list has more reach than ever. The list is almost entirely high-quality pirates. Brain Masseuse is looking like one of the higher-performing cards in this list, especially if Ship's Churgeon buffs it. I'm not going to say a ton about this because this is just like an example that's indicative of like Perils and Paradise also improving good decks. Reno Druid got new heights. Skipper Warrior, which is on the periphery, got All You Can Eat. And access to Druid cards, but I think access to Druid cards might be bait. Don't yell at me, Magma Rager. So like that improving an existing deck. A Questline Demon Hunter got Patches the Pilot. He looks awesome in that list. I had a game today where I copied Patches the Pilot in Questline Demon Hunter with Philosophy. Dropped 2 1-mana 2/2 patches against a Pirate Rogue. And then followed up with a Paraglide and drew like 6 parachutes and annihilated their board. They conceded on turn 3. Looks great in Questline Demon Hunter. Arana looks great in Questline Demon Hunter as an end game to like, let me make a gigantic Glaive Tar. Okay, I'm going to draw 13 cards with my Glaive Tar. Let me drop Arana, drop into Fatigue, and spray that damage all over the enemy board. I probably nuke the enemy from orbit. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. So, like, a lot of Perils stuff has boosted existing decks and maybe made them a little bit more prominent. The new stuff is all kind of at the fringes and is fun, is cool, is weird. I hear a lot of people talking very positively about, like, Martian Blue's Rainbow DK. Like, even DK into pirate decks. Who would have thought that'd be successful? But like, it got pieces, it got support, it's going, it's fine. And that's what Wild kind of looks like right now. I think if you talk to people at the very top end of Wild, they think it's a crap expansion because there's nothing super powerful or interesting kind of breaking through, kind of pushing the issue, pushing the limit, pushing something new. If you talk to somebody like me who's walling around in like low legend dumpster where I'm above diamond players, but for the most part, but I'm at like experimental legend, like it's a lot of fun and kind of cool to play. So like that's where we're at. I kind of anticipated when the expansion came out, it's going to be a fun expansion for casuals and deck builders. I think that's playing out.
That sounds like exactly where we want, as Wild players, a new expansion to be, truthfully. Like, whenever something breaks Wild, I kind of roll my eyes and I'm like, all right, they'll fix it, but like, okay. This sounds like what we want. Like, new tools for existing archetypes, new archetypes at the fringes, but like not OP. Like,
and I'm not convinced something won't break. Like, that's the thing. It's like, I think this is actually a high-powered set, but it's a weird set. And like, nothing is super obvious, even though there's packages that they're kind of like, again, we've talked about it when we did the set review, like there's packages that they've set up, but like, how are you supposed to use the packages? And like, I would have never thought to make a tempo mage was like, I'm buffing Flame Waker with sunscreens. Like, what the hell? Like, okay, thanks, Copper. Like, I would have never anticipated that that's what I'm doing with my life, but like, that's what I'm doing unironically in Wild right now. So like, that's a thing.
Throw sunscreen on the flame.
I guess I'm going to be making. I guess I'm going to be making all right. I guess I'm going to be making all green sunscreen cards now because I got to make my Flame Waker nice and shiny. Right, has to have a nice base. So like, like that's like we're right now we're at like a fun like weird part. I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop and we get like an Egg Hunter type situation where something where like we look at it and we're like, how did we miss this? Pops up and it's super strong and it kind of wrecks everything.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, but at the very least, until that happens,
it's fun.
We've just
really
got
fun.
Tools.
Yeah, we just got tools.
And even if that happens later, cool. New archetype, new thing. is this not exactly what we want as WoW players? Because to me, this is exactly what I want.
I think so.
Like something that sort of can freshen up the meta without
Yeah.
absolutely destroying it, right?
Exactly.
And let me clarify. I still play a bunch of Seed Locks, a bunch of Pirate Rogues, a bunch of Shadow Priests.
Sure.
What was good before is still good. And some people will say, well, Schmoopydady, I'm still queuing into Seed Locks. Well, yeah. You have to make something. Like, you can't make people play new cards. You have to force them to play new cards by beating them into submission with the new cards. And then they will spend dust on the new cards. So if you don't like the fact that you're losing to old cards, suck it up, Buttercup. Cook better. Make something that beats the old cards. And then you're going to be okay.
As a Wild player, for me, like the old things still being good and the new things being viable to potentially good, this is what I want a new expansion to be.
It's friendly for free-to-play players. It's friendly for free-to-play players. They don't feel like they're missing out on the expansion, but their experience is changing. But also, like I said, like it's not like you can't beat Seedlock, Pirate Rogue, and Shadow Priest. Like we have strategies that beat that. By the way, Skipper Warrior should farm all of those. So like it's like we get some cool new stuff on top of what's already good. And that is the end of, I think, Schmoopydaddy's Wild Meta Report. Hydra, I might have some unrelated advice for you.
Oh, I'll take it.
Unrelated Advice with Hydralisk.
I don't expect it to be a super long unrelated advice, Hydra. But like with us, like looking at like acupuncture coming into the list, and Mindseer possibly going the other way, do you think it's still worth possibly running Mind Goblin in Shadow Priest?
No.
Wiser words were never spoken when you heard that on.
More to be wild.